Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game So today I got a fun and random video for you guys this evening as we are playing the demo of Abathor. This is basically Rastan Saga and Warrior Blade mixed together in a brand new side-scrolling hack and slash beat 'em up game. If you know anything about me or the channel, you know my favorite beat 'em up game of all time is Warrior Blade Rastan Saga 3. So anything that even remotely resembles that game, I'm definitely going to check out, and I'm currently playing the demo, but this game will be out in like 2 days, so definitely check into it when it does release. And just so you know, it's not like the developers asked me to do this. I just heard about this and I saw Rastan and I had to play it. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, you got a Patreon link down below as well. But what Pow Pixel Studios have done here is basically take the formula of something like Rastan and expand upon it and making it into a more modern experience while still keeping that pixel art alive. And this character here may not be Rastan in name, but he's definitely Rastan in gameplay style as well as overall sprite. And outside of Rastan Saga 2, one of the worst sequels to a great game ever made, I absolutely love everything Rastan related. It is just one of my favorite Taito games of all time and favorite arcade games of all time, so anything that makes me think of that definitely is something I'm going to want to play. And obviously the developers had some love for Rastan Saga as well, because you can just see its DNA all over the screen here. The good thing is though, this game is a ton of fun to play in its demo form. I have gotten to the end and I will show you how it ends, and I'll definitely be picking this up when it comes out and maybe running a full review on it once I get to spend a little bit more time with it. But I don't often do videos on modern retro games. I play them a lot, it's just not something I really show on the channel. But this just has that nostalgia vibe for me, so much so that going through this pirate ship right here reminds me of a very specific level in Warrior Blade Rastan Saga 3 all the way down to the boss. This has a little bit of ghouls and ghost DNA in it as well, with some enemies that I'll show you in just a moment, and you can basically see so many different games that you probably remember and love from back in the day in this demo, and that is always a good thing. There doesn't really seem to be any Metroidvania elements in it that I found so far, but I definitely feel like maybe there might be a few hiding in the actual full game, because there's one area in the game where I unlock something I have no idea what it's supposed to do. But the main gameplay hook is kill enemies, collect special power-ups as well as gems, because you're going to get a vendor that's going to sell you some power-ups later on. But do be careful when you pick up the special attacks. You pick them up by using the up button, and you use them by pressing up and B. I did both at the same time and blew off a special attack right there without hitting any enemies. But take a look at this pirate ship right here, and let's move over to Warrior Blade Rastan Saga 3. This just 100% feels inspired by that game. If you've never played Rastan Saga 3 before, I can't recommend it enough. It really is just one of my favorite games of all time. It's got so much charm, so much vibe. It is just an absolute classic. So even though the screen is zoomed out here and you are on one plane of existence, you don't have free range of movement in and out of the screen, I get a lot of those Warrior Blade vibes going on, obviously with the character being fully inspired by Rastan himself. And I do like the gem pickup mechanic as well, being able to actually buy upgrades throughout the game. I'll show it to you in just a moment, but the character you start with is not going to be the character you take through the entire game. And of course I'm just playing as the Rastan amalgam here for the demo, but there are 4 playable characters and there might even be more in the finished release of the game. And that is just awesome. I also appreciate that the game does slow itself down a little bit. It's not just a constant side scroller. We need to destroy this door here while also dealing with all the enemies coming towards us and these 2 monsters shooting projectiles at us. It is a fun little puzzle just to figure out how you manage that screen space and kind of move around to avoid the attacks while also destroying that door. At the end of every level, you're going to get a soul count and you're going to get some extra money for that effort. So the more enemies you kill in the game, the better off you're going to be. But I'm going to take you into the first boss battle here, definitely again inspired by Warrior Blade Rastan Saga 3, and I'll show you a little bit of the music as well, because this game has an absolutely great soundtrack to go along with the nice visuals and the overall gameplay aesthetic, and I really like all of that parallax scrolling going on in the clouds as well. But go ahead and listen to the soundtrack for 45 seconds while I fight the first boss, and trust me, this has got that classic Taito charm and that Zuntata thing going on. Whoever made the music for this definitely enjoyed the Rastan Saga games, and you can absolutely hear it. So go ahead and listen for 45 seconds, and I'll be right back. Some really fun music for that boss battle, and honestly you'll see here that we basically have the Kraken in Rastan Saga 3 as well, so it seems like this entire area is inspired by this one direct level from Warrior Blade, and that is a good thing. As we move on to the second area of the game, I love the cloud effects, but these crows right here just absolutely get me every single time. They have the same kind of vibe going on as a bat from Castlevania, where no matter how you try to set up for the attack, somehow you're just ever so slightly late, and you're going to get some new enemies in the second stage as well. And I really do like the pixel art on this one. It has that nice 16-bit look, but in a full 1920 by 1080 and widescreen presentation, so you really get a good field of view on the game as well. Maybe the playable character sprite's a little bit too small for your taste, but I like being able to see what's coming up. And these flowers right here, definitely some ghouls and ghost vibes going on as well with the corpse flowers in that game. But you really need to learn your screen space management, how to move around this world, because some enemies do telegraph their attacks and you can basically hit them for free if you actually learn how they move around. If there's one thing I would say about this game that I'm not 100% in love with yet, is maybe the fact that it is just too easy off the demo. I died all of exactly once, and that's because I fell into a pit, but otherwise I was able to finish the demo from start to finish without taking a single death. So hopefully the finished game has a lot more difficulty options, because in the demo so many chests have different food you can eat and restore your health that makes it kind of a breeze. I will say they definitely make you understand enemy patterns a little bit better, because this gigantic warthog here, you have to learn how to attack him, and you can't do it head on. You have to jump over him and then attack on that downward slash, but there doesn't really seem to be any sort of downward attack that I could find. And Rastan is famous for being able to jump into the air and then point his sword straight down and attack enemies below him. So maybe that's something we'll see an expanded moveset in the finalized version of the game. I would be curious, but right now, again, this is just doing it for me. I love the universe. I love that kind of medieval gothic aesthetic. I like all of the enemies I'm seeing, and the gameplay is just fun. It's got some great platforming, some great attacks, and you really do have to pay attention to every single enemy. You even get this really nice waterfall scaling area here where you have to jump on all of these different rocks. So I'm very curious to see what the final game actually looks like and plays like, because I do want to see more levels in this game. It has piqued my interest, but I'm definitely the target audience for something like this. I grew up on Rastan and have played all of the games in pretty much any hack and slash or beat 'em up game back in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s all the way till today. I was 100% going to play. So this is the type of game specifically made for me, and probably for you as well. Leave me a comment down below and tell me if you've heard of this demo before. I would be curious. I got one more sound sample, but I'll be back with some more gameplay that's definitely just Rastan. Enjoy! Again, some really fun music, and this area here just feels completely ripped in a good way from the original Rastan. You would go into an open area and fight your way to a castle, then you'd have to ascend to the top for your boss fight on ropes while avoiding spears and fireballs. So this seems to be exactly that in the best way possible. And there's one little machine over here which makes me wonder how it would factor into the finalized game. Maybe there is some Metroidvania going on. I flip that switch, something happens, but I'm never able to figure it out because it's probably not in the demo, so it does have my curiosity. And these moving platforms and fireballs are basically just the moving platform version of the swinging ropes in the original Rastan, which were always a fun time. And the best part is the controls are exceedingly tight on this game. If you miss a jump, it's because you made a mistake, not because there was any lag or any sort of delay in your motion. The controls are responsive and tight, and that's what you want for a hack and slash like this. And of course that crow's going to get me 2 more times. They do drive me absolutely insane. But I'm excited to see what this final game is, and you're only going to have to wait some days, because I believe it's the 25th or the 26th of this month that it's going to release on Steam, and apparently Nintendo Switch as well. And we have the general here for the last boss fight, but it does interrupt midway to end the demo. But this is just the type of game that I am always intrigued by and love, because it reminds me of some of my favorite games of all time. And as far as the demo is concerned, there's a lot of fun to be had here, so check it out and maybe consider picking up that finished version. Again, the developers didn't ask me to make this video. I've never talked to them before, just sometimes I find something I really like, and that is the end of the demo. But short of that, leave me a comment down below and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.